Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Birmingham Assay office for our third Instagram live. Very glad to have you with us. Just wait for a few moments for a few to join. Jewelcast, welcome Jewelcast. Got to get closer to see. Welcome, all of you. Great to have you. Oh, at the bench, thank you. Hi, at the bench, Louise and Andrew. Welcome, welcome, one and all. Just give it a minute or two longer, if that's okay, for a few more to join. Good afternoon, Brittany. Right, well, we will kickstart at 1 o'clock. I promise you, we won't keep you waiting. But let's just wait a few moments. It's raining here in Birmingham again. Pretty miserable. But it's bright and sunny in the assay office, isn't that right, Suki?
Yeah, all is bright and sunny in the assay office.
We don't care what the weather's doing outside. Great to see you all. Fabulous. Thank you all for joining. So, as I say, welcome to our third Instagram live. The first Instagram live that we did was about hallmarking, and we're very happy to take any general questions today on hallmarking in general. But what we would like to do is just focus today on our laser marking capabilities here at the assay office. So people think about the assay office and we do laser hallmarking, but we're also using laser technology to apply all sorts of marks that aren't necessarily hallmarks onto precious metals as well as base metals. So we're going to cover all of that in this live today. So you know who I am. My name's Marie Brennan. I'm joined by Suki, who is our laser expert here at the assay office.
Hi guys, nice to see you all today.
Suki, how long have you been with the assay office?
Oh my gosh, it's getting on to just over 20 years now.
Yeah.
Always worked in laser marking, well, in the laser department, shall we say. And I've seen a lot of changes in the laser department as we've been marking precious metals. And like Marie said, we initially started using skeleton marks for laser marking. And I'm not sure whether people are familiar with skeleton hallmarks or outline marks, but if I'm just going to put something quite close to the camera, see if you can catch that. It's basically an outline skeleton hallmark.
So I think it's probably worth us explaining, Suki, that there are two types of laser hallmarks. So there's the outline skeleton mark,
which I've just showed you guys.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to just bring this other mark closer to the screen for you now. And this is what we've now got as a relief hallmark. Again, I'm going to take that quite close to the camera.
And that's again applied by laser.
Yep.
But just explain the difference, because obviously they look very different.
Yes,
okay,
they are very different indeed, to be honest. And initially, when we started laser hallmarking, we initially was applying hallmarks by outline or skeleton mark, and this was a very lightweight way of marking a product because the item could be delicate, it could be hollow, it could be having very difficult areas for where we could maybe apply a hallmark. So this type of hallmarking lent itself very well to apply hallmarks by, and we could scale the mark down quite small, so probably approximately about 0.4 mil tall, and we could still get a very legible and clear hallmark on the product. So it served as a very good way of mandatory hallmarking for products in the retail section.
Yeah.
We then was sort of like asked a lot from our customers or pressed for why couldn't we get a laser hallmark that looks much more like a punch hallmark. So we thought about this for a period of time, and then we come up with like what I just showed you guys on the screen, a relief mark. The way this is applied is completely different in the sense that we don't actually cut the characters in, we cut away behind the characters. So we're taking a little bit more material away, but the mark is much more durable than a skeleton hallmark. And to be honest, if we go if I use the word deep, if we go deep with this mark, we can, after polishing, make it quite look like a punch mark as well. It can be quite difficult with the naked eye to see the difference between the two. So we've gone that's another way of hallmarking by laser. But obviously, if you wanted punch, you wanted punch. But if you wanted relief hallmarking that looked like punch, you could do that as an option as well.
And would you say, Suki, that the relief mark is becoming more popular now?
To be honest, I very rarely myself apply very many skeleton marks now. Most of the time, majority of people are using deep relief application for hallmarking now. Yeah. Because I think it's a nice way of applying a hallmark without actually being concerned too much about bruising, any damage, any sort of like finishing afterwards. If your product is very delicate and you don't want to do any much more work on it, but you want a hallmark on there that's robust, it's going to be durable, it's going to stand some wear and tear. Relief marking is a very good option. Yeah. So do you want to just take it back up to the screen? Have another look. I'll take that back up to the screen for you. Obviously, that application on that card there is quite large.
Yes.
Just to give you an idea of how the application works as a process. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So there's the difference between the two types of laser hallmark. But don't forget, guys, that, as I said at the beginning, it's not just about laser hallmarks. We're marking items using laser technology in all sorts of ways. So in terms of personalisation, we can personalise any item with a message, a corporate logo, and we're doing that again using the laser technology that we have here. We've invested very heavily in different types of laser machine.
Yes, we have.
So we wanted to sort of cover off some of the if we call it non-hallmarking laser marks that we can apply. So when you think about personalised messages, wedding dates, I love you. That's not you, Suki. That's I love you all. You know, messages, dates, all sorts of things. So, Suki, give us some examples of the type of, personalisation.
Well, initially, yes. Personalisation, initially what we started to do is, when we started to do non-statutory hallmarking, we mainly started with inscriptions and logo applications initially. So if a customer came to us and they wanted something hallmarked, but they decided that maybe, well, while we're hallmarking our product, maybe we could sort of like brand our product at the same time, put our corporate logo in there. And we helped them with that in terms of the design or creating the file for them, because if they didn't have a vector file, we could support them in that journey and create that for them. So we were starting to do that, and we could apply that simultaneously at the same time as the hallmark together. So we started doing that. Then people started asking us about, can we apply messages as well? Can we do something on watches, pendants, etc.? So we explored all them avenues, and we started to use lots of different fonts as well, and explored all different avenues of how we could do that. So we started adding these extra services there. We then invested in rotary arm technology, where we could go inside rings with more personalised messages. We then decided that we could go on the outside as well with personalised messages. And then recently, what we've gone further in different ways, that we've actually, what I call personally, is bespoke personalisation, where a customer has maybe doesn't sit in front of a PC, he's got an idea in his head that he's thinking about putting on some precious metal or non-precious metal, but he just has no idea of how he can adapt that or how he can put it into some sort of format for us to laser mark it. We can help them with that whole journey by creating their image. It can be just drawn on a piece of paper, and I will support them, guide them, create a vector file for them, help them with placement, positioning, size, to get to the required desire the customer actually wants themselves. So it's not just like send your work in and we will put the message on there. It's like, if you've got an idea and you just don't know how we can put it into a process, we can support you with that. Just make the inquiry initially, just make the phone call first.
So if a customer had a drawing, Suki, of a, I mean, we've got some examples behind which are probably difficult to see, but
yeah.
You know, if it was a drawing, for example, of a calf, could you recreate that as a laser mark?
It's I'm not going to say we can't. Yes, we can. It's what we can do in terms of the process. Yes, if you've got something that's a hand drawing of something that's quite sentimental to you, and you'd like that to be sort of like laser engraved onto a product, I certainly can help you create a vector file. It's a long journey. It takes a lot of time and effort sometimes, depending on what we've got to work with. But we've got the skills and skill set in our office to work with you and develop that for you, and get something on some metal or laser engraved onto a product for you. Yes, by all means, we can help.
Great. So I just noticed a couple of questions, and we've got some members of the team with us, and they'll pick up on some of the questions too. But at the bench, you asked about the difference in the price between a relief laser mark and the difference between a relief mark and a skeleton mark. Yeah. So just in round numbers, a laser hallmark, if it's applied by outline, it is around 50p on top of the normal hallmarking charge, whereas a relief mark is around 89p extra. So you'll see there is a difference in terms of the price, because obviously the burn time is going to be longer.
The reason behind that, guys, is because of the actual application process itself. Because when we're applying a skeleton mark, it's a lot more quicker process in terms of how we can apply marks. And what happens is that when people ask for relief hallmarks, to be honest, they're not quite small, they're quite large, and we're covering a lot more surface area.
Yeah. And
we're having to take away a little bit more material, and actually the process itself is a longer process time in itself, which is why it reflects in the price.
That's the laser hallmarking charge, but obviously with personalisation, the price is going to differ depending on the requirements. So we've got some set prices for personalisation of standard words up to 12 characters, or up to 18 characters, apologies. It's £12 plus VAT in a standard font type. But if it's a logo or an unusual font, or something different, then we would obviously price on application.
Yeah, we could work with that. Yeah, because obviously we've got a standard format that obviously if you could supply us with a vector file. We've got some sort of conversion format that we have to do. We have to check and edit and do a bit of work on the product itself, make the file maybe a little bit more tidier, a bit more clean, put it onto our laser machine, test it. So all them costs involved that's why we have a standard set charge for that. But then if there is something like a bespoke personalisation where you need more work done, you need us to help you, support you with maybe creating a bit more with the graphic work, then that will be, like Marie says, it's price on application. We'll look at that individually and review that, and obviously come up with a price for you.
Yeah.
So at the bench, I've also asked the difference between the traditional punch hallmark and laser relief hallmark.
Yeah, so was that the question on price?
Yeah, but compared to the punch hallmark and then laser.
Yeah. Okay, so if we punch marked a ring, for example, the price is around £1 per item. If we punch mark it. If we laser hallmark it with an outline laser mark, you're looking at around £1.50. And if we then laser it with a relief laser mark, it would be around £1.85. But those are a guide, because as Suki said, the size of the mark will determine, will drive the price to a certain extent. But that's just a guide for you guys to go with. But at the end of the day, if you've got a requirement and you want a specific price, just give us a call. So while we're talking about prices, we've got a discount code we'd like to share with you. So if you would like to have anything personalised, so this offer relates to personalisation rather than laser hallmarking, we will give you a 10% discount. All you need to do is quote the code LASER10 on your submission paperwork, and we will honour a 10% discount because you've joined us today and you've taken time to be with us to listen to our live. So do take advantage of that offer, 10% off any personalisation that you want to submit. And, you know, if you need to talk to us beforehand, contact the customer service team, and we can make sure we give you details, prices, lead times and so on. So the email address for our customer services team is customerservice@theassayoffice.co.uk. So yeah, that's the offer we've got today. So can we take a few more questions, Nina?
Yeah, of course. So we have got a few questions from social media, and someone has asked, will it damage my product in any way having the item laser marked?
No, what we're doing, I mean, the laser machine itself, if we talk about laser application, is we're removing a very lightweight and light material away off the top surface. And it's, like I said before, in terms of material we're removing, it's about 10 microns. And that maybe in terms of millimeters is about 0.01 of a mil. So it's just cutting away the top surface. So there's hardly any change in the integrity of the piece, and there's hardly going to be any bruising. And we're very careful how we place the product onto our surfaces as well. We're very careful in terms of how we jig things up and tool things up. I don't want to use our special stuff that we use.
We've also had
Brilliant.
another question asking whether is laser recommended on finished or unfinished items.
Very good point. Very good question, isn't it?
Yes, it is a very good question, and to be honest, it can be done on both. Okay, we have had pieces come through to us which are more in the unfinished state, but what happens is we do sort of like guide customers there in terms of telling them that in terms of the relief application, we would advise you to go deeper. And in terms of our normal standard application with relief, we'd probably advise customers to use a little bit more passes on there, because obviously they're going to do a lot more work afterwards and finishing. And maybe they still want to use relief laser, we can, and we will just apply more passes, and obviously there'll be a longer burning process in there.
So we're going to just go
deeper. So we're going to go deeper,
yeah.
because we understand that the customer is going to be doing a lot more finishing off on the item itself afterwards.
So is it important that the customer puts that on the paperwork?
Yes, it could be. Yeah, I mean, the customer, if he needs to be able to appreciate that if he's going to be doing a lot more work on the product itself, it's best if he highlights on the assay note himself that he'd like a much more deeper relief application. Yeah. Because the product will be worked on afterwards.
Yeah.
So we do that, but we do sort of like advise customers to have their products more sort of like, I would say, semi-finished, where we might want to do some final mopping on the product itself really afterwards, because then generally that lends itself to be a better way of hallmarking, because the item is nearly completely finished, and we will be using a relief application, which will, by all means, it will leave a little bit of a heat haze around the area where we mark, because it just generates a little bit of heat when we're laser engraving, but that would come off quite easily in a final mop, to be honest.
Final polish.
Yeah.
Great. Hopefully that answers your question. Nina?
Yeah, so we have touched on this already, but someone has asked if we can laser engrave logos and the size restriction. So how big, how small can we go with the detail?
Yeah.
Yes, again, I mean, obviously, in terms of how small we can go, I advise customers that when we're putting a logo on a product, it's not try to tend yourself lean not to go anything smaller than 1 mil height in terms of the height of the product, because you just still want to be able to see it under a loupe and be able to see sort of like detail and clarity. In terms of how large we can go, well, how large is our fill sizes on our laser machines? Yeah. Exactly. So typically at the moment we've got a 60 by 60 fill size, so you can imagine how big we can go. We've marked logos, or we've marked things up to about 20 mil tall as well. Yeah. But it just takes a long time then in terms of the process. Yeah. So it's all a reflection of how big your logo is and how large you want it. But yes, there's no restrictions. The restriction is only the fill size, to be honest.
Yeah, the fill size of the actual laser.
Actual laser machine.
But we wouldn't recommend anything less than 1 mil.
No, we wouldn't recommend anything less than 1 mil, because it's in terms of like, you want to see the detail of your logo. You want to be able to pick it up on a product. You want to be able to see, maybe not with the naked eye, but at least be able to quite easily identify it under a loupe.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And we've done some beautiful logo work, honestly. All we need is like Suki said, is a drawing to work with, and we can recreate it to such high quality in terms of
what we do. Yes, rather than say like Marie says, we have done some very beautiful pieces, and what we try to do. I mean, myself personally, I'm quite passionate about what I do, to be honest. And everything I do, I feel it's my piece. Okay, so there's a lot of time and effort and thought process behind everything I do, and I think to myself that it's got to be a good job, and I want it to be a good job. So if I'm not happy, you're definitely not going to be happy. So I've got to make sure I'm completely happy, and I always try to endeavour to do the best that we can here at the Assay office. So you're in good hands, guys.
You're in the hands of the experts, and that's for sure. It's probably worth just mentioning as well, it's kind of relating more to statutory hallmarking, that the coronation commemorative mark is still available. So until the end of this year, so the British Hallmarking Council permits the Assay offices to apply the coronation commemorative mark until the 31st of December this year. So don't forget, if you want that added, we can apply that by laser or by punch.
Yeah.
But I thought about it because we've seen some beautiful larger versions of the coronation mark that you've laser marked.
Yes, like Marie says, the mark is still available till the end of December.
End of December, of this year. So
and there's no restriction on that, to be honest. So it can be much larger, and it doesn't actually have to be applied on the same face. If you can mark it in a different area, as long as
it can be placed somewhere else.
Yeah, much more larger and much more visible if you want to add value onto a silver product or onto any precious metal.
I've mentioned it because I think people think because the coronation was last year that the mark is no longer available, but it is. So do still request it. Sorry, there was a comment earlier from Julia Lee about whether or not the live will be available to watch later, and it will be via YouTube. So do take if you've got to dip out and you'd like to continue watching at a later date, it'll be available via YouTube. Right, okay, so can we have another question, Nina?
Yeah, so quite a few people are asking about different things you can laser. So if someone's asked, they have a stainless steel water bottle, can that be personalised? Oh. And then someone else has asked, they have a series of awards for their staff. So it's just the name and the date they need on that, can that be personalised as well?
Yes, I mean, with laser engraving, although lots of the products that come through to the Assay office are precious metals, but we can laser engrave non-precious metals. We can do brass. We can do stainless steel.
Right.
We can do copper. So there's no limitations. The only thing we have to change, obviously, is the power factors and the settings, and that's all we have to do. But yeah, there's nothing stopping you from personalising something that's non-precious as well.
Yeah. I mean, people love personalisation. Everybody likes something that's been personalised. So, the opportunities are
I think it just
quite wide and varied, aren't they?
Yeah, yes, it is quite varied. I mean, the fact that if we want to go out and buy a present for our loved ones or for members of our families, you know, we can go and identify something, pick it off the shelf and buy it and purchase it. But then the actual added value of the thinking process of making that much more of a personal present for somebody, where you can give that extra personal message that you've always wanted to give somebody onto that little item that you've bought. And that's where we can help as well. And it doesn't have to be the fact that, it won't fit, I haven't got enough area, or it won't fit there. We can look at the product and see how we can work with you and how we could fit that message on the product as well. So don't ever think that, I just haven't got enough area there, or I don't think it's going to fit, or I don't think it's going to work. Ask us the question and we can help you with that maybe sometimes as well.
And that's all part of the service, isn't it? So, I think most of you probably know that at the Assay office it's not just about carrying out the task, if you like, but it's about the support and the advice that we give around that service.
Definitely. If we're going to be honest, I mean, if it's not possible, I will tell you as well, it's not possible. But 99% of the time, I'll work with you and see if we can achieve a result that both parties can be happy with. And at the end of the day, we're here to make you guys happy and make sure that you've got out of us what you want out of us as well, to be honest. And we always try to do that.
Yeah, definitely. So just a reminder, because you've joined us today, we have a promotional offer on laser inscription work. So using the code LASER10, you can have a 10% discount off any personalisation work that you submit after today's live. Just make sure on the submission paperwork that you drop that code onto the assay note, and we'll make sure we honour the discount on any personalisation that we apply for you by laser. That's excluding hallmarks, just to be clear and to be transparent.
How long is that live for, Marie?
Oh right, good point, Nina. So that offer is available until the 30th of April. So we're going to take that right up to the end of the month. So it gives you a couple of weeks to think about things that you might have in stock, or you might want to talk to customers about. So yeah, it's about 2 weeks, isn't it? So the 30th of April is the closing date for that offer. So do take up the opportunity while you can. Right, so Nina's gathering the questions here. So are there any more?
Yeah, so feel free to send through any more questions that you've got. We've got a hallmarking question about layouts and styles that we offer. Are there any different types? What can we do with that?
Yeah, that's a good point. Spread marks and display feature marks.
Display marks. Yeah, obviously, I think on you might quote me wrong. I think on our website we have got our preset styles that we've got on there.
If they're not on the website, we can definitely supply them.
Yeah, we've got a set ones which run from style 1 up to style 7, and there's sort of like distinctive layouts of how we sort of like place them on the product for you, which is basically deviating from straight line. It can be in a cross formation, in a square formation, in a circle formation, etc., or in zigzag positions exactly on the piece. But that's just the starting foundation, to be honest. I mean, obviously, if you've got a creative design of how you'd want your hallmark displayed on your product, as long as it's on the same face, we will absolutely help you with that design, or do the design that you'd want to do, and place that on the product for you. Obviously, then it's a display mark, what we call a display mark. So yes, it can be done. Yeah,
great. And it makes a feature then of the item, doesn't it?
Well, yes, what it does,
the hallmark.
What it does is it tries to give a little bit more added value to the piece, because the hallmark, it becomes part of the integrity of the piece. It's not just like, I want a hallmark to be discreet on my product. I want it to sort of like enhance my product, and the display mark itself will lend towards that, giving it like a little feature itself on the product that you're trying to sell or give to somebody.
We're doing this live from one of our meeting rooms here at the Assay office, and the reason we haven't actually done the live in the laser department is it's quite noisy. So we thought we'd take it off the floor, as it were. But I think it might be good to show you at some point in the future some of the kit that we've got. You know, like I said, we've invested quite heavily in different types of laser machines, and we've just done some work recently around working with lasers without doors for speed and ease.
What we've gone down the pathway of now is trying to look at how we can be able to get more control of how we're hallmarking or non-laser marking on our products. And in terms of an operator's perspective, is how we can cite something quite accurately, and how we can be comfortable and confident of placement on the piece itself. So that the door process was sort of like hindering us a little way in terms of how we could visually cite products. So going down the pathway, I looked at avenues of how we could improve on that, and also at the same time improve productivity. So we decided that we was going to then maybe just take away doors. We have to wear health safety glasses, but that's a small price to pay for what, in terms of how we can then now, we can put larger pieces in there and hold them. We can sort of like cite things much more accurately, like I said. And we've got a lot more confidence in how we can mark pieces of jewellery or non-jewellery as well, non-precious jewellery as well.
Yeah.
So, go on.
We'll do some little video clips, I think, Nina, of our laser room, so you can see the setup really.
Yes,
I think
we could do that, or maybe another session, because we've just developed a little area on our laser department where we've got all these laser machines now with no doors. So maybe in a future date, we could do a little live video there and maybe show you some of the equipment, and maybe show you a ring being rotary hallmarked. We could show you some applications on plates of how we can do personalisation.
Yeah. So you've just touched on the rotary arm. It's an additional piece of kit that we've added on to the laser. So talk about how that works and what that application.
Yes, it's all like. What happens is that we could either call it on-the-fly marking, or where basically what happens is with the rotary, it's an add-on to a laser machine, and it's basically a plug and play. So we plug it into the laser machine, and we can mount a ring onto it through a sort of like a chuck operation. We can either load it so it marks on the inside, or we can load it so it marks on the outside. You can type in a personal message of your choice or whatever you need to having this inside the ring, and then the actual rotary arm will move itself and laser engrave the whole message inside there. I mean, it's quite a nice piece of kit. Probably it'd be nice to show that in a future day on a visual, really.
Yeah. And what it's capable of
delivering. And what it's capable of doing, and it's something we've recently tried to develop, and we've got it there now, so we're quite happy with it. And doing a lot more laser inscriptions, personalisations on wedding bands.
Yeah.
And people are sending their products rings in to us for hallmarking. So we're giving that extra service of maybe then when you're sending it in for hallmarking, if you want to put that personal date in there, that little personal message on your wedding date itself, we can put that in there for you as well at the same time. So it's like in-house service as well as a hallmarking service.
And the other thing we do quite a lot of is laser inscription on watchbacks, and quite high value watches. You'd think that maybe adding a personalisation might impinge the value, but actually people love a nice watch to have an inscription.
Yes, that's after the last few years, I've noticed that yes, we are getting a lot more. So like, what we say, expensive watches. Yeah, they are expensive watches, but what we're doing is putting little personal messages on the back of them. Not only on the back of them, sometimes on the side walls, on the clasps, and sometimes it's quite a large message in the middle, or sometimes it's just a couple of initials on there, just to make that precious watch or expensive watch even that little bit more precious to that person they're giving it to.
Yeah.
It just gives that little bit more personal touch.
Yeah, we haven't got one to show you, but in terms of a watch back, we can do an inscription curved at the top or at the bottom or in the centre. The
we can do we can do top curve engraving, bottom curve engraving, centre back engraving, and there's another thing as well people worry about is that if I have my watch laser engraved, am I going to lose value? Well, most of the time the laser engraving that I do on the watch backs is on a watch back. So a watch back can easily be removed and it can easily be replaced with another watch back. We're not losing the value of the watch itself, but what we are gaining is that personal, sentimental touch as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's a question, I can't see who the name of the person is, sorry, because the camera's far away, but the question is, are you able to personalise different parts of the submitted parcel? And the answer is yes. Yeah, we can. So if you've got several items that you're submitting for hallmarking, but you only want maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of them personalised, it's not a problem at all. As long as you make that clear on the submission paperwork and it's obvious which piece requires the personalisation, that's no worries at all. We can manage that.
Yeah, so Neshre's just followed up and said, as in 10 wedding bands with different names and dates.
Yep. Yeah, so 10 rings with different names and dates.
Yeah, we do that quite regularly. Our customers will submit in rings for laser engraving. We're going to stipulate they have to be wedding bands because that's how it works on our rotary. It can't be like signet rings or rings with shoulders because they just won't fit the fixtures.
So they've got to be plain bands.
They have to be bands.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they have to be wedding bands.
So if it was a stone set ring, for example, a solitaire, that's not suitable.
That's not suitable for a rotary marking application.
Yeah.
So we have to request that it's a wedding band. A wedding band is fine, or a band, a ring band itself. It doesn't have to be a wedding band.
Yeah.
But we can do that. And if it's like 10 wedding bands and they want different messages on different ones, that's fine. You just write them different message you want on each packet, and we can do that for you. It's not a problem.
If anybody on the call would like us to share with you our standard price list for the personalisation, with the standard fonts that we use, we can share that, not a problem at all. But if you want if what you're looking for isn't standard in terms of standard font or words, then just let us know and we'll give you a price, as I said, on application. Gabe's prompting me here to send a message on Instagram for the price list. Just drop us a message in the live, or via, on the messages. Okay, so, and don't forget the discount code of Laser10 for any personalisation work that you submit between now and the 30th of April. We will make sure we give you that 10% discount, even if you just test the service, see what you think. I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and I'm just going to touch on, Marie, when you were saying about the fonts, so we've got our standard fonts and our standard price list. Regarding the standard fonts, yes, we work with 4 standard fonts, and if I'm going to remember them all, I think it's Times New Roman, Arial, Monotype, Cursiva, and Lucidia, and calligraphy. I think Lucidia calligraphy is the final font, right?
Yeah.
Them are the 4 standard ones, because we've tried and tested them fonts, and they're quite, in terms of like suitability for laser marking, in terms of like clarity and legibility, they work quite well because they've got a nice wall thickness on the actual characters. But saying that, there's nothing stopping you from asking the question, I really like this font, can I use this font? I would quite happily look at the font and see if it would work. And there's a small surcharge for that, but if it works, we can download that through a laser machine if it's a TTF font, and we can test it and trial it, and if it's happy, we'll use that font as well that you specifically want.
Yeah, we've got a question from Impressions.
Yeah, so Impressions Jewellery have just asked, they've just registered their hallmark as an outline skeleton. Do they have to re-register for a relief mark?
Definitely not. So you've registered your mark, your sponsor mark is now registered for a 10-year period. You've opted to have it made as you've opted to have the laser graphic drawn up as an outline, but we can transfer that to a relief mark, not a problem at all. Just drop us a message if you'd like us to do that. We'll just convert the laser file into a relief laser mark, and you can request a deep relief laser mark going forward. Not a problem. There's no extra cost for that, by the way.
It's just the initial laser setup cost. But after that, if you prefer to have it by outline or relief, you just stipulate that on your assay note, because we would quite often set up both, to be honest.
Yeah.
Unless you specifically, when you register that you say that you want relief mark only, we'll just set up relief marking. But the beauty is, as well, in terms of sizes of the actual laser marks, we can scale them up and down accordingly to your products. I mean, typically we follow punch sizes from 0.5 up to 6 mil tall, but there's nothing scaling in between, to be honest, to fit your product.
I was having a conversation with a customer yesterday, and we were talking about the size, because you get so much flexibility if you opt for a laser mark.
Yep.
You don't have to predetermine the size. Whereas if you're asking for us to start with us on punch marking, we need you to determine what size that punch should be. Mm-hmm. However, with laser, there's no prerequisite.
Yeah, there's much more flexibility behind laser, and like we say, with relief or relief marking as well, the fact that we can get it to look quite good, like punch marking.
Yeah.
So you've got that extra sort of like benefits of register once, set up a laser marking. And then in terms of what size I want to use, just stipulate the size on the assay now. That can you mark it 3 mil tall?
Yeah.
And if we can, we will. But if we can't, well, we'll talk to you and advise you what the biggest size we can go, because we have limitations in terms of, like with our laser machines, it's generally that we mark on a flat area because we work to a certain focal distance. How laser machines work is that you have to have a set focus height, and when you deviate from that focus height because you're having to go round corners or up side walls, it's going to become a problem. So we'll optimize the maximum size we can go on the flat area of your product. And if that ends up being 3mm, great. If it ends up being 2.5mm, we'll pick up the phone and advise you that accordingly.
Yeah. So we've got a few more questions. One, going back to the font. If I was to handwrite a message, can you put that on the back of a watch, for example?
Yes, okay. How? What we got to think about? Yes, if you was to handwrite your message, that's fine. What we'd have to do is a little bit more editing on there, because what we might have to do is do a little trace of your handwritten message, convert that into a vector file. If your handwriting is very clear and legible, it's going to be pretty easy to do. But if your handwriting isn't like that, it can be a little bit hard. But yes, there's nothing stopping us from doing that for you. Yes, it has been done already, to be honest. I have done that. I've put people's signatures onto their pieces for them. Yeah. Where they've asked, I've got them on an A4 piece of paper to sign it, basically with a black marker pen, I think, as large as possible. Did a trace from that and converted that into a vector file, scaled it down to fit the product and put the signature on there, and got a happy customer.
We've got another question just about the live, asking if it'll be available after, as they couldn't, they missed the beginning of it.
Yeah, so we'll be available to view on YouTube after the event, so no problem, you can watch the whole thing again. I mean, today was really intended to be an introduction to laser marking and to, just let people know that we can do so much more than just hallmarking by laser. And the personalisation is something that we really wanted to highlight today. So hopefully we've done that and given you some indication of what is and isn't possible. And just a quick reminder that the discount code of laser10 is available till the 30th of April. Just make sure that you put that on your paperwork, and we'll make sure that we honour a 10% discount on any personalisation work that we receive from you between now and the end of April. Gabe's reminded me actually that all of our previous Instagram lives are on YouTube. So the first one was very generic around hallmarking, lots of questions generally about hallmarking. Our second live was on gemology. And today obviously was laser. So, and we're going to have a subject every month, aren't we, Nina?
We are.
We'll have something to talk about every month. So do keep connected with us, because we find this is a great way of engaging and talking to our customers. It's we allow an hour, but generally it's sort of 45-50 minutes, and it's just an opportunity for people to drop on, listen to things that we're doing, and really help educate and inform our followers on what's possible and what we can offer and how we can support you. So, are there any more questions, Nina?
Yes, we have one more from ND Cosento. It's about the sizing again for hallmarking. So do we have limitations such as 2mm by 2mm size-wise?
Okay. Nina, is that when you say 2mm by 2mm?
Yes.
Well, how we hallmark in terms of sizes is we determine hallmarks by height, so 2mm tall. Proportionally, whatever that size becomes, dependent on how many panels we're using. Yeah. So the minimum requirements for a hallmark obviously is the sponsor mark, the finder's mark, and the anchor. So based on what them panel sizes will be, 2mm tall, I'm not sure how proportionally that width would be. Okay.
Yeah, so when we talk about hallmark sizes, we are very much talking about the height
the
top
panel
to the bottom.
Yeah.
As Suki says, the width will determine on whether it's just a minimum mark, whether the convention mark is included, the date letter. Yeah. So
Yeah,
But
that can vary.
that will vary. So, but when we're talking about height, so standard size mark is around 0.5 mil. It's
Yeah.
tiny. But we go up to 6 mil. And
We go up to 6 mil, and I would just like to reiterate that with hallmarking in terms of relief applications to get the more benefits and the added value and see the clarity of the hallmark. We try to sort of like go from 0.75 mil onwards, really, and try not
that's
to go.
a good point.
Yeah, and try not to go too small, because obviously what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a more robust and durable mark, but still have that fine detail and clarity on the mark itself as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you're having a nice relief laser mark,
nice relief hallmark,
it needs to be 0.75.
Yeah, I would say 0.75 upwards. Yeah, but there's no limit. I mean, we stop with punch sizes at 6 mil, but obviously, if there was a specific requirement that you wanted your mark to be a little bit larger, we could obviously look at that for you and help you with that as well. To be honest.
Yeah, great. Okay.
We've just had a few more people join, so I think if we just show the difference between the skeleton
That's a
and
good
the
call.
deep relief one more time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to hold these back up to the camera. So first of all, I'm just going to hold up the outline or skeleton mark, and I'll bring that closer to them. So I hope you guys can see that. So this is what we first started applying hallmarks by, this process. Okay, and this was again on very delicate items, lightweight products, hollow items, or generally jewellery, where there was very difficult or small areas to a hallmark, and punch would probably damage or bruise. So then, over the years, we developed what we call relief hallmarking. So again, I'm just going to hold that up to the camera. Okay, and that is what we started to see a lot more application of now, relief marking. And this is, like I said, it mimics more like a punch mark. Probably doesn't still go the same depth because of how a punch application is. But if you was, like I said, if you was more concerned about the depth and you wanted a more sort of like deeper depth on there, by all means talk to us or write it on your assay note and we could look at that for you, because you specifically wanted it deeper. But like I said, it's more tends to lend itself to products that are more semi-finished.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying we can't mark on unfinished items, we can. We just put more passes or more application of the relief process on there for you.
So Jill Design is saying, so that are there different levels of deep relief? So we did sort of cover this a little while back earlier on in the live.
Yes.
There are in terms of passes.
Yes, I mean, the trouble is we try to standardise the depth, and what happens is the standardisation can be a little bit difficult when we've got different types of fibre laser machines. But sometimes what happens is that one pass on one laser machine is the same sort of depth as 4 passes on another laser machine, because of the different power levels on there. So we try to standardise the sort of like depth. And like I said, what I was talking about before, the depth level for a relief hallmark is approximately about 10 microns, 0.01 per mil. But that normally is quite adequate for a mark to be there, and it's quite durable. But obviously, if you were saying, well, I want my mark to be much deeper, yes, we can get it deeper for you. Just request it on your assay note, or talk to us, and we can change a few more variables to get that mark much more deeper for you. But we just do think that the laser process does lend itself to more finished products where you're worried that you don't want to do a lot more work on it afterwards. Like I said, just want to do a final polish or a final mop on it, and where you want your mark still to be quite durable. Yeah. That's where relief marking is quite the more viable option to take. But if it's just a mandatory hallmark you want there, and you want it to be like it's very delicate. It's something I need to have on my product, but there's obviously a tight budget, and obviously I need the hallmark somewhere that is quite difficult for me to mark anywhere any other way. That's where skeleton hallmarking or outline hallmarking will be the right aspect or the right way for you to hallmark your product.
Yeah.
So Florabella has just asked about pricing. So do you price by minute of the use of the laser machine?
No, no, we don't.
No, we don't.
So we've got a fixed price for laser hallmarking, by outline or by relief. So different price points for laser hallmarks, and then in terms of personalisation, we've got some fixed prices for standard fonts, for up to 18 characters, multiple words, £12 plus VAT. But what becomes then bespoke is when it's not standard, and maybe it's a logo or a personalised message that sits outside of those standard parameters.
Yeah.
So we would then price on application, but we don't base it on laser time, which I think is the question. Is that right, Lena? Yeah.
That's right, yeah. It's only when we go down the road of bespoke personalisation and we're marking items which can be very large, is then we have a burn process time. So then that's completely, then we're based on the burn process time, because that's a bespoke personalisation. But otherwise, it's just, like Marie said, it's based on our set prices.
Yeah. No problem, you're welcome. Okay, don't forget if you want a copy of our price list, drop us a message. And if you're submitting your lasering, Gabe's prompting me here and Nina's prompting me there, don't forget the Laser 10 promotional code, which is available until the 30th of April on all of your laser personalisation work. We will give you a 10% discount. And like I said earlier, just give it a try. And if you want a price list, either for laser hallmarking or for laser personalisation, drop us a message and we'll make sure we send that to you by email after the live. Okay, great. Well, I hope you've all enjoyed the session. It's great to see everyone join. Thank you for taking the time. We really do appreciate it. We will be doing a live, as I said, pretty much every month going forward. If there's anything in particular that you would like us to cover in terms of a subject, don't hesitate to let us know. If you've got any messages or questions rather, just drop us a message and we'll make sure we come back to you with the answers. But we're particularly interested in subjects that you're interested in hearing more about, because that will help us shape the future of our lives. And this is only the third one we've done, so we are still learning.
Yep, and hopefully we're getting better and better.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yep.
So thanks once again to everyone for joining us.
Yep.
We really appreciate you taking the time, and we look forward to seeing you at the next live, which will be announced shortly. Have we got a date?
It's at the start of May.
It'll be at the beginning of May, so we'll make sure we post about that well in advance so that you've got good notice. And just about an hour between 1 and 2, and we'd be delighted for you to join us. Fabulous. Well, from Suki and from I,
thank you guys.
We'll
Thank
say
you for
goodbye.
joining us, and hope you found some knowledgeable stuff about laser marking today.
Great. Thanks, guys. Thanks.